Welcome to the Enlightenment Evolution Hour. I am your host, Gauthier the ET Whisperer. The Enlightenment Evolution Hour is a part of the Enlightenment Evolution Network. Any ideas expressed by the guest, myself, or commenters may not necessarily reflect the same opinions of the Enlightenment Evolution Network. Enlightenment defined. It is the state of giving or receiving greater knowledge and understanding about a certain subject or situation. Evolution defined. The gradual development of something, especially from a simple to more complex form. So what is Enlightenment evolution? The state of giving and receiving greater knowledge as we develop from a simple to more complex human being living on Earth for our soul's experience. Welcome now and join us as we explore our Enlightenment Evolution Hour together. The Enlightenment Evolution Hour is simulcast live every Wednesday at 10 o'clock p.m. Eastern, 7 Pacific from the Enlightenment Evolution Hour page, Matrix Minds Facebook page, and the ET Whisperer YouTube channel. It is also redistributed from the Forbidden Knowledge News Network and Conscious Awakening Network. Hey, welcome everybody to the Enlightenment Evolution Hour. I am your host, Rob Gauthier, the ET Whisperer, and happy Halloween, right? This is the only show before Halloween, and I wanted to make sure I got a chance to connect with all of you guys. So welcome to the Halloween special, all of you in the Matrix Minds, all of you from the ET Whisperer YouTube channel, and all of you from the Enlightenment Evolution Hour page. Welcome everyone. First of all, I want to say today is a call-in show too. I want you guys to call in, share what's on your mind, what's on your heart, what's going on in the world with you. The link should be in the description. If those of you who are coming here from the Matrix Minds don't have the link in your description, you can always go to the ET Whisperer YouTube channel. And the link should be there, and then you can click that link and come in. You'll be put in a little studio in the waiting room, and then when I call you on to come on, you just jump right in and say hello, and tell us what you're thinking, So before we jump into all of the Halloween stuff that I wanted to talk about a little bit and share, I did want to say the announcements for today. It is a very short list of things that I want to say, but let's do the show announcements first. Next week, we are going to have with us Sandrine Savagnin, who was a person with me at the last event that I did in, was with me in Sedona for the Sedona Transcendent Retreat that I just did September. And she is an amazing lady. She's living in New Zealand, but originally comes from, holy moly, I don't remember, but she's an amazing lady. She's a great channeler. The week after that, we are going to have another lady who I channeled with at that same event. And her name is Georgia Jean. And the week after that, we're going to have Jamie Price, which is an amazing channeler, light language lady who's very popular on YouTube. You probably bumped into some of her shows and some of her sharings that she does on YouTube and some of her channelings and stuff. An amazing person. And we'll continue to go after that. A network announcement. First of all, even though the Matrix Minds is not officially part of the Enlightenment Evolution Network, they support us through all means. So any donations that we get through the live stream, we're always giving those to them because they cost to operate, and he freely allows me to come in and use his own platform, Matthew, from the Matrix Minds. So we're definitely going to be asking people to go there and check out his show and check out the support. And also there's a lot of cool people and cool energies over there And they also have another show that happens, which is awesome. And that's a great thing. But also for the network tonight at 11:59 p.m. Eastern, that's 8:59 Pacific. If you go to Instagram, there is an Instagram live show called Out There Talk with Valiant himself. Several of the guests that we have here like to go over there and do a show with him, and he's doing really amazing stuff out there, which is just really cool and really connected energy. So you can always go there and check that out. That's on Instagram Live at Out There Talk, all one word. Just put up the at symbol in that. For the ET Whisperer announcements, we have the event coming up, and this is going to be I want to say November 24th and 25th. Nope, 25th and 26th, which is a Saturday and Sunday. We're having 2 4-hour days from 4 p.m. to 8 p.m. Eastern. Each day, we're going to have myself and Tyler Ellison. Tyler has been here on the show with us. Tyler has been on Patreon with us doing a channeling with me that one night for the Patreon Q&A. And it's the Gateway of Gratitude. We're going to spend 2 days, 8 hours total in those 2 days, teaching and channeling, doing Q&A with Ryoka, who Tyler channels, which is a part of the Sasani Ambassador. And Aridif is going to come in and do that too. And that's a 2-day event. You can sign up for that at the etwhisper.com. As soon as you open the website, the very first picture that pops up is the Gateway of Gratitude, followed by another event, and that's in Sedona by the same company I did that Sedona event in September. They're doing the big event, and this big event is going to be pretty huge. Daryl Anka is going to be there channeling Bashar. Linda Moulton Howe is going to be there. Anita Morjani is going to be there. William Henry, Matt Kahn, and just a ton of great people like Wendy Kennedy, Reuben Langdon, Sean Swanson, other past members of this show, Vivian Chevet, and Sue Frederick, which both I had great shows with them and great times with them. Maureen St. Germain, just a ton of people are going to be there. And it's really going to be amazing. It's going to be March 8th, 9th, and 10th in 2024. The tickets, I imagine, are going to sell out fairly quick because just Daryl Anka by himself sells out that same venue, the high school auditorium there. He sold that out in less than a month and a half. As soon as they announced it, within a month and a half, all the tickets were sold. Matt Kahn sells out regularly, 500 seats by himself. Linda Moulton Howe, Anita Morjani. I mean, all of these people who are really big names in our community are selling out these size of venues by themselves. So if you're interested in getting that ticket, you can go to SedonaAscensionRetreats.com. But if you do sign up for anything there, I highly suggest using the coupon code to get 10% off of all of your ticket sales, not just one thing or another, or not just things involving me, but the whole event. You can get off for 10% and use code ET-Whisperer10. That's ET-Whisperer10, all one word. It's not case sensitive. You put that in, you'll get 10% off. And that way they know, hey, Rob's the one that sent you, which does a lot for me, for them inviting me back too. And I really love this event and I love going there. And if I'm ever asked, as long as I don't have something else to do, I'm going to go. So check that out, guys. Yeah, I'm going to be at the Conscious Life Expo also in February in Los Angeles. I'm going to be doing a workshop, and I'm going to be doing a seminar there. And I also will have my booth out for all 4 days or 5 days, 3 days, whatever it is that they do. I think it's 3 or 4 days. I'm going to have my booth there. So I'm going to be able to meet people, hang out with people, talk with people. Kalina and the Lilith are both going to try to be both there and at the other place. So make sure you guys are definitely in the loop for that. Make sure you guys are ready to rock and roll for that if you're in the LA area or if you're going to Conscious Life Expo. Otherwise, that's the announcements. Hello, 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 all of you guys. Welcome to the Halloween call-in special. I see a ton of you guys coming in from Facebook and YouTube. Hello. Welcome to the Halloween. So this is a last minute thing I thought about because it's Halloween. Kalina suggested, "Hey, why don't you do something Halloween related?" And I said, "Yeah, you're a genius as always." So first of all, what is Halloween? The Halloween energy is very different. In the Western U.S. environment, it's a lot about little kids going out to get candy and everybody dressing up. But most of us in this community know the roots of that. A lot of the pagan energies from Europe and a lot of the pagan energies from Northern Africa and Western Asia. A lot of that area in the world had a lot of pagan ritualistic beliefs. And it is one of the times during the fall equinox. A lot of that energy is a veil that goes between the non-physical realm and the physical. They would call it the spirit world and the physical world. But for us, we understand that as dimensional things. So it is an energy that holds a barrier of that consciousness to be a bit thinner, which helps us who are psychic intuitive connect a little deeper too. So there is a beautiful thing behind the aspect of what the history is of that and what it's actually designed and meant to be. But there's also a lot of energy with childhood excitement that goes around that. And that's a part I think about a lot, partially because we have two kids, although I haven't dressed up Jeremy for a couple of years and got him out, he's always done Halloween. We set up his wheelchair. Like one year, we set up his wheelchair as a TIE fighter from Star Wars and dressed him up like Darth Vader, and used the wheelchair as part of the costume. And Lily just hasn't really got excited enough to do it. And we've dressed her up and stuff, but we never really took her out and around. This year is going to be the first year that we get a chance to do that. So it's really exciting for me this year. Plus, Halloween is Kalina's mother's birthday, and Kalina's mom just passed a couple years ago. So each time it's come up since, we've always kind of celebrated that energy about her mom and celebrating her mom and her energy and what she meant in both of our paths and stuff like that. So that's another aspect of it. The entire energy about it for you guys is what I really want to see. I want to hear what Halloween means to you guys, memories that you've had, stories about the spirit world. Any of that is welcome. Of course, you don't have to talk about that when you call in, but it's always really welcome, and we're really open to hearing things about your own experiences. So before we take our first caller, because we already have one caller in, and as you guys might guess, the Atom Twister's here because he is extremely active in our community here and is extremely excited to connect in this community with all of you guys. So he's going to be here in a minute talking to me. Before we get to that part, though, I'm going to tell you guys a story from my childhood that I remember. As you guys knew, I grew up as a Christian, and that meant that all of this stuff was off the whole board. No one could do Halloween. Like, I did Halloween throughout my childhood, but it came in phases when my mom would go to a more strict church and listen to the pastor talk about how evil Halloween was or how bad it was. Then, of course, I wasn't going to get a chance to do Halloween that year, or would have to leave to do it and get dressed up at a friend's and stuff. So there was always that nuance and that energy behind it that was taboo for me. So I would be like, Halloween's great, it's kind of not really acceptable. So it always had that little extra bit of excitement there for me. So knowing that will set you up for this. My friend Scott, who goes by William, who's not the William from Patreon, but the William from SPG, who's been on this show, maybe even a couple times at this point. I know he used to have his own show on our old network when we had, 2 shows every day all week long. But he also has that show, that the Mothership, and they haven't been back for a while because he just got done with his back surgery. But as kids, we used to do all the stuff I couldn't do at my house. His parents worked a lot during the day, so during the whole day, we had to ourselves, and we could do whatever the hell we wanted, which was a great part of that energy too. That my mom stayed home, so there was nothing we could do without one of my parents knowing. So they got their hands on a Ouija board, and we're like, all right, let's check out the Ouija board. So we were playing with it. And the very next day we all woke up, and during the Ouija board time, I felt these energies in my solar plexus kind of tightening up. And, as kids, we were talking shit to the Ouija board whenever we were getting answers we didn't like, or things like that. And then after I would talk shit, I would feel this solar plexus punch, and it kind of felt like, whoa, whatever's in here is trying to push back against me. And that's the way I thought about it. So that happened, and we did that for a few hours, and it was actually really scary for me as a kid because it was so taboo and so against the rules. But it was also really thrilling, and we got some crazy answers from the Ouija board. And then we're like, yeah, let's put that away, because we started getting really messed up answers, like really pretty brutal answers, like you're gonna die of a murder when you're 15 years old or something like that. So that scared the hell out of us, and we put it back. The next day, we're listening. His parents had this very big, loud audio system. His dad was really into the AV equipment back then, which back then in the 80s included gigantic I'm trying to remember the name of them. Basically, a place where you plug in all the equipment and it amplifies. So it was an amplifier, and we plugged it in, and they had huge subwoofers and everything. So during the day, we would crank up music. And I remember In-A-Gadda-Da-Vida by Iron Butterfly being on the movie, which was a horror movie, which we watched, which also I was forbade to do by my parents. But we watched Nightmare on Elm Street, and I can't remember which version of it, but it was the one where they had the kid who was always smoking pot. And anyway, when he went to sleep, he got high and fell asleep. And when he fell asleep, he had a dream. And in this dream, Freddy was in the TV talking about pot use, and they did the whole Johnny Depp, this is your brain on drugs commercial, if any of you remember that from the 80s. And then Freddy Krueger hits him in the face and says, what's this guy smoking? That doesn't look like drugs. That looks like eggs in a pan to me. So, it was funny. We're watching that, and then that song comes on, and In-A-Gadda-Da-Vida. So now we have a new song we can listen to, because as soon as we play that for our parents, they're like, oh yeah, that's great. That was on when I was in my 20s or a teenager. So now we're jamming to this thing, but it had that scary connotation to it too, because it's hooked to that movie. So we're playing this at full blast, just waking up, getting pizza for breakfast, because that's what you can do when there ain't no adults around. And we're raising hell and turning up this song. And yeah, it was the third Nightmare on Elm Street. Yeah, I was thinking third or fourth. Thank you. So we're raising hell, and we're just eating cold pizza and ice cream for breakfast, and had that song on blast. Well, for those of you who know about that song, there's a radio version that's 3 or 4 minutes, but there's also a 17 or 18-minute version that they put on the record, and that's the one we're listening to, the 18-minute version. So, when you're younger, time feels different. It feels much stronger. It feels a lot more powerful, like 18 minutes as a 10-year-old or 11-year-old feels like it's 45 minutes an hour, where now it feels like it's 2 or 3 minutes sometimes. And we've got this on, and what seems like halfway through the song or 2/3 through the song, I see Scott or William lunge forward, and I look at him like, dude, there's nothing you tripped on, you're being clumsy. And he looks back at me. He said, "Why'd you push me?" And I said, "Dude, I didn't push you. I'm back here. I'm like 5 foot away from you. How would I have pushed you?" And he gets this look on his face and goes on about his business. And then, he's still a little mad and accusing me of lying. And anyway, we eat our ice cream. Then we're getting ready to go upstairs because his parents' room was upstairs. That's where all the other stuff that was against the rules to look at, all of the things that they had, that was up there. So we get ready to go up there, and he lunges forward again on the steps. And I'm like, dude, I already knew he was going to say, "Hey, why'd you push me?" I'm like, dude, I didn't touch you, man. I'm at the bottom step. I would have had to have been above you to push you, or at least right next to you. And then the picture of the family falls down, and it falls down right in front of him. He freaks out, runs, almost knocks me over trying to get out the front door. And then all of a sudden, boom, 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 5 or 6 other pictures start falling behind him as he's running out. And then I'm like, holy shit, what's going on here? So all of a sudden we've got all these pictures falling on us, and I just run right behind them. Eventually, his older brother Sean came out about a minute or two after we did. And then we go back into the house probably 30 or 40 minutes after. It seemed like a couple hours. We went to his neighbor's house and stayed with her. And eventually we come back in the house, and all of the pictures are back up on the wall, except for one that first fell. So that was just such a weird thing, and that's always stuck with me as my most paranormal childhood experience. It's funny, when I had William on the show, he actually talked about something that he went through as a kid, which was very scary for him. And as much as that was scary, that one was a bit more impactful for his childhood. So yeah, it was crazy, and that was my first experience with the otherworldly. I had seen some lights in the sky before that I thought were possible UFOs. Now I know they were. But that one was definitely the most scary. And it wasn't the only thing that happened at his house. There were a lot of things that happened at his house that were kind of creepy and crazy. Because it was an old house and it was way out in the middle of the country. That's actually where we saw the big footprints. That's where William had seen a standing monkey, or a monkey that was walking on his back legs. So it's probably Bigfoot, just because that area was so desolate where he lived. But these are kind of the things in my own childhood that grew up with me, that helped me be open for the otherworldly community, stuff like that. Yeah, everyone. Yes. Spirit of Tree says, can I call in about a synchronistic Halloween story? Anyone. Yes. Everyone, please call in. You can find that link in the bottom of the description. I'll put it in the chat too, real quick. If you give me 1 second here, I'm gonna send that link out to everyone, and we're gonna take our first caller here in 1 minute. So if you're at either the ET Whisperer YouTube, or you're at the Matrix Minds Facebook, come on over to this link for your call in, and we'll get you on. All right, guys. So I told my Halloween story. Why don't you guys? Oh, can you not hear me? Someone said they can't hear me. I think everyone can hear me now. I hope I haven't been talking for 20 minutes and no one told me that I wasn't. Yeah, people are responding to what I was saying. So, yeah, let me answer that in chat. Sorry, guys. I just want to make sure everybody's who's here can hear. All right. So let's bring in the Adam Twister. Welcome, brother. How are you?
I'm doing pretty well. How are you doing, brother?
I'm doing great. I'm doing great. I can hear myself a little bit in the background. There you go. Now I can't. Um, so perfect, brother. I'm doing really well. Today is it's been a busy day, but definitely a good day. So share with us what you're here to share about. You have any Halloween stories or otherworldly stories from childhood or anything that you want to share, brother?
Well, first things first. First rule of using an Ouija board is be kind to the beings.
Yeah, yeah. Learned that the hard way.
Anything you learn from Mr. Rogers about doing stuff with people, do with all things, and they will reward you deeply. But anyway,
Mr. Rogers was a good teacher.
but anyway, oh wow. I mean, it's been a wild thing because I've had, one of the big themes about Halloween seems to be facing your fears, looking straight, at them in the face. And of course, people carry all kinds of fears, and that's been exactly what I've had to do, face my boogeymen. And it's really been, to say it's been a wild ride would really be an understatement. It wouldn't do justice to what life has been like for me. Um, a lot of doctors still don't know what exactly causes appendicitis. So here I am dealing with this phobia in me, and it's interfering with my eating, and I'm having to go ahead and, let go of that. If they don't know, I just have to go ahead and trust the part of me that does know, my heart. And I have to go ahead and do that. And there's enough information, out there to where if you really want to know what causes it, it's not too difficult to get some pretty good guesses because it's a piece of calcium lodged in that little pocket at the end of your large intestine. Um, and that tells me, don't eat too much calcium. But you know what? My body already tells me when I've had enough. So that's one of the many things I've been facing, and that's a relatively small boogeyman. There's a much bigger one that I've had to face. Um, some of you guys here in the chat have worked on consciousness directly with me, and others of you have worked on consciousness on your own. And the theme that I've been going through over the last about a week or so, it's a sort of midlife crisis, and one of the focal points of this is any of what I'm working on really real? Does this stuff work? And I'm going to open the floor to anybody who has any thoughts on that, and then I'm going to go ahead and share my thoughts afterward.
All right. So, are you saying you want me to take another caller and then chat as you take that? Because we're on a delay, usually a minute and a half, and sometimes when I put free to chat information out there, it takes people a while. And before you answer that, too, I just want to say I appreciate you sharing the way that you shared last call and show. Deeply touched a lot of people, including Kalina and myself. And I really appreciate that. And secondly, as the appendix issue, I actually had my appendix removed when I was 11. And that was a very weird thing. I had some issues and I went to the ER 3 or 4 times before they finally figured it out. But when that happened, the doctor actually said after they took it out, they had found some gangrenous material in my appendix. And they said, if we didn't take this out, could have been 3 hours, 3 days, 3 weeks. If this thing would have popped, it would have went straight to your heart and killed you. So that was something that was pretty traumatic in early life, and I was glad to get it pulled. I know doctors really don't even know what it's for. They kind of suggest what it might be for, but I don't know. So yeah, that whole thing is a pretty crazy thing. And I think our other caller just disappeared. Spirit of Trees just kind of popped out real quick. So if she comes back, and you do want us to go to other callers, then we'll do that. If not, and everyone else, excuse me, everyone else who wants to call in, please do. I'll send the link again in the live chat so that all of you guys have the opportunity to join us. It is best to join from Google Chrome browser or Firefox browser. That way you can get in for sure.
Yeah, there's a lot for me to share on this, and I almost feel like it might be. I can't tell for sure if it would be better for this to be a note to close on toward the end of the show, or if I want to go into detail with that now. I think I'm going to close on that toward the end of the show.
Okay.
There are a lot of people here with a lot of stories, and because this thing that I'm dealing with respect to the reality of consciousness and the meaning of life and stuff like this really gives me a lot to think about. And I know it's going to give a lot of people a lot to think about as well. And it'll probably be what I open up the House of Tat YouTube channel with. So,
All
yeah,
right.
I think.
Well, that's fair enough, brother.
All right, folks. So, why don't y'all go ahead and come on and share your stories with us? We would certainly, we would all love to have you. And I'll be here listening with everybody else. And then I'll come back at the end of the show.
All right, brother. Sounds great. Thank you for coming and thank you for checking it out. All right. I'm going to put you in the hold room, Spirit of Trees. Welcome. And also, I know because you put it in chat and I saw it that you've got a very synchronistic Halloween-ish story. So I'd love to hear it. Oh, you're on mute. All right. I'm not sure if you can hear me or not, or if you're on mute on accident or not.
What's that?
Oh, there you go.
Hello.
There you go. Hello, hello.
I'm not sure if you can hear me or not.
Oh, you're listening to the
Yeah,
live
yeah, yeah,
stream.
yeah. Let me
If
go
you
in the
can
next room.
pause that live stream, yeah, that's good. Thank you.
How about that?
All right. I can't hear myself now, so that's perfect. Welcome. Welcome, first
Hi.
of all.
Hello.
It's nice to have you on. And
Yes.
I'm very excited to hear about your story, too.
Okay. Okay. Well, thank you for the platform. Excuse me. I was just walking my dog and now I'm inside and I had to like adjust things. But anyway, hello everyone listening. Hello Rob. Hello Kalina. Nice to speak with you. I guess my story with Halloween starts when I was 15 and I went to a Halloween party, which was a heavy metal band that was playing. It was like this band that was playing at a camp that was kind of like in the boondocks. And it was this really like heavy metal band that it was 1995, October 31st, obviously. And it was really fun. And for me at 15, I was like so excited, to be in, with like all the older people, and all the rockers or whatever. But I had a
Yeah,
really
I
good
forgot. 95, 15. That means you were born in 1980, which means
No, no, no.
we're the...
I was actually born in 78.
Oh, I
So
see.
so maybe I was 17. Oh my
Okay.
gosh.
Well, I was gonna say that we're the same age, but it looks like you're a couple years older. You're
Oh,
between me and Kalina, or no, Kalina's between you and I.
okay. Okay. Nice. Nice. Yeah, I don't remember exactly how old I was, but I know I was definitely between 15 and 17, but it sounds like it was 95, so yeah, I was 17. Or 16 because it was October. But anyway, nonetheless, I went to go with my boyfriend and we went to this party and it was great and it was like really like dynamic. Like you could just feel the energy in the air. Like everyone, like think about it, it's 1995. Like if you were somewhat of age in 1995, the energy that you felt. And I just remember being really taken back by all the energy and all the different people that was there, and just like really vibing and enjoying it and just having a really good time, and even got filmed, by a VHS camcorder at the time, and it was just a lot of fun, and then just watching the band and hanging out with people and la 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 la. And then lo and behold, 15 years later, I met my now husband, who I've been with for almost 13 years. We've been married for 12 and a half. Um, and we're in love, we're having a great time. And he's like, you know what? I have all these old band tapes on VHS that I need to like transfer to DVD. And I'm like, okay, cool. So he starts playing it and going through it. And one night on October 31st in 1995, there is a tape of a show he did at a Halloween show. And on the tape is me, him, my boyfriend at the time, and him and his girlfriend at the time. We're all standing in a circle and just like talking and chatting and hanging out and BSing in 1995. So we're literally married at this point, and we're watching this video and we're seeing us, 15 years before we had met. Like I was 16 and he was 26 because my husband now is 10 years older than me. So we were literally watching it and we're just like, wait, that's me. And he's like, that's me. And oh, it was so fun because it was like, wow, we like hung out one night and got to know each other because we were literally chatting. And whoever was filming us like in a group, the band, and then whoever I was with, which at the time was my boyfriend who was a drummer. So a bunch of musicians. And then I ended up marrying that guy and had a son who I have a 22-year-old son now with him, who is, high functioning autism, which is great. Like, gotta love our babies in every form. But anyway, yeah, that's my Halloween story because it's neat because we, hung out and then found out later we had hung out before, if that makes sense. But yeah.
That is absolutely crazy to
Yeah.
imagine that down the road. I've heard stories like have made national news before where this woman was looking through her childhood pictures and her husband's like, oh my God, that's
Oh,
my
yeah, yeah,
dad.
yeah.
And they're in Disney World together at the same time when they were 3 or 4 years old.
I actually think I know what you're talking about, but yes, absolutely. Do tell.
Yeah, no, that's kind of the whole thing. She just looked, and it ends up that in that very same picture that her mom took of her and her dad,
Yeah, I know
the
that
same
story.
one was him and his mom, or him and his
Mhm.
dad walking through Disney World at the
Right, at
same
the
time at
same
the same
time.
place. That's crazy,
Yeah, that's
right?
so cool. That's so cool. It's synchronistic for sure. And of course, that was the beginning of me and my husband's relationship at the time. And when we saw that, it was just like, oh, that just like gave us more, written in the stars, we're meant to be together because we had basically run in the same circles. But I'm 10 years younger than him. So it was, we weren't quite in the same circles, but apparently we were. Yeah.
I love that story. That's absolutely amazing. And thank you for sharing that. Is
Of
there
course.
anything that you've got going on this Halloween or this time of
Um,
year that's exciting for you?
Other than that, I just like the spookiness of it all and the idea that people are getting closer to the curtain being open because this is like the generalized time where society as a whole will see the curtain or the thinning of the curtain basically because it's Halloween, it's spooky time and that's kind of neat because everybody's kind of thinking about magical things at this time and I think that's neat and I feel it. I feel it and I like it. It's good. But no, nothing else other than that. I appreciate you letting me share that little tidbit of my history.
Oh, I love it. I'm so happy that you called in. It's always nice to get people to call in, especially when they're a part of the show in the chat room all
Yeah,
the time. So absolutely, thank you for doing that.
of course. Of course.
Oh, all right. Well, if you're done sharing your story, I'll go to the next caller.
Okay.
All right, Spirit Cheese, thank you
Lovely.
so much.
Lovely. Good night, all.
We send you our love, Kalina and I both do.
Yay, I receive it.
Oh, thank you. Well, thank you for coming on.
Of course. Thank you.
All right, Nadia is here also. The next caller is Nadia. Hello, how are you?
Hello.
Nice to hear from you. How's it going?
It's awesome, actually. Thank you for asking. And you guys sound like you're doing much better too.
Yeah, yeah. Feeling better, doing better, clear of all the uckies. All of us are back to normal, thankfully, and pushing through that. So that's good. But yeah, it's been a crazy last couple months, and the energy's flowing well for us in all directions. So that's good. But I know that you're calling in because it's a call-in show, but are there any stories, spooky stories, otherworldly stories, Halloween stories,
Oh,
Halloween
yes.
energy? Share
Yes.
away.
Okay, so I guess I'll start with the first, which is my earliest and my first UFO sighting, but it did not come back into my memory until I was much older. So this, I always have been searching for people finding UFOs like this, and I've heard a few people say yes, and I found a picture of almost pretty much exactly what I saw, um, but I can't find anything else on it. So it felt like a dream, but like at the same time, I know it's real. If that's hard to explain, I don't know. I was probably about 9 years old. I lived in Somerville, South Carolina at the time, and all I remember is like there was a bright moon, a full moon. I'm in my backyard, and I'm I'm looking up, and I see it's not the triangle UFO that everybody else sees. It's not the I forget what it's called, the TR something or another. Um,
TR3B, yeah.
yeah, it was not that. The best way I can explain it for anybody is this was beyond multiple football fields wide. When I say it was almost as big widthwise as the size of the UFOs you see in Independence Day, not the main mothership, but the smaller ones that come down over the cities.
Oh, wow.
It was huge, and but it looked like it was like thick, but it looked like the Borg ship. So imagine like the cartoon thick kind of triangular piece of cheese, like you've got the sides to it, but put the texture of the Borg ship on that, and that's what I saw. And
Oh,
it was,
wow.
yes,
That's a scary looking thing.
yes. And I didn't feel scared from the feelings that I remember, like when I think back on it. It was moving very slowly, very quiet. I don't know how I got outside. I don't know how I got inside. There's a brief memory where I thought I was leaning through the window, and then somehow I'm like back in the backyard. So for years I thought I was crazy, and then I just like I'm like no, no, that was real. I know that was real. And that's kind of what started me also. Like I've always been the kid in my family that was big in aliens. I was big into Mac and Me, all was it all the movies basically from our childhood that had to do with aliens, except for the movie Aliens, which scared the living Jesus out of me.
I think
Yeah,
that scared the
to
living
this
shit out of
day.
all of us on that in
Right.
that generation.
And watch there be a version of them out there, but they're the nicest ever. They're like, where are they going? But yeah, so that was the most that I can remember. When you had Daniel Scranton on your show, I had gone to have a channeling done by him, and one of the questions that I had asked him was, to ask the guides, was that real? Because I feel like a fraud. I'm like, no, but then I'm like, yes. Some part of me is like, yes, you were there. And I don't have any other memories other than that. I don't remember being brought aboard anything because my QHT didn't go so well. Um, I don't have any memories of like anything past, just seeing it in the sky. So, but he said the guy said that basically it was part of a hybridization program or something. So I have some connections there. So that was my first ever paranormal. I've always felt very connected to it throughout my whole life. And then, of course, the other week I got to tell you about the bright, the one I saw briefly in the sky. So that was exciting. And then the next one is I had moved, I'm older in my 20s, and I'm in this apartment. And mind you, it's not that old of a building. And I'm laying on my bed and I'm reading a book, but I like to have the TV on at the same time on low while I read, which is weird. And I have a lamp plugged into the same plug that my TV is plugged in. And once in a while in this apartment, I would get this really bad feeling out of nowhere. I mean, just this terrible feeling inside, like the hair standing up on the back of your neck, but like malice coming from it. And I'm like, what the heck? So I'm sitting there and I'm reading, and all of a sudden the TV pops off, but the lamp doesn't pop off. And I'm thinking, did I lean on the remote? So I find the remote, which is nowhere underneath me. It's on my side table. And I'm thinking maybe it's just a fluke. And I turn it back on. I'm sitting there again and I'm just, reading my book. And then all of a sudden, boop, TV does it again. And the lamp is still on. And then the feeling comes. And I was just like, oh, heck no. I know you are not coming up in my household. So when something like that happens to me, I get very irritated. And I'm like, no, not, not in my house. It happened a few more times in that apartment. And basically, I just put my foot down and I'm like, nope, you're going to take that elsewhere because I'm not dealing with it. And then it generally went away. What it was, I have no idea. But I know that the feeling attached to it was terrible. Like it was just kind of terrifying. That was another one. And then my last one was after my older sister had passed in 2008, and I was still with my ex-husband. We had gone up to the mountains in California, Arrowhead Mountain, which is the one I was telling you about. And there's a cabin up there that a family friend had, and they let us, just take over the cabin for a little bit, go hiking, and just have some alone time because he had just been back from being out to sea for a few months. And I'm laying there, and I go off of what my gut tells me generally when I'm in a place. I didn't get any like weird feelings. It's a very old cabin. I want to say it's late 1800s, late 1700s maybe, but there's pictures of the people who originally settled the cabin. And I thought it was cool. I love old stuff. And I'm laying there one night, my ex-husband's completely asleep, and all of a sudden I feel, and I'm wearing shorts, like a hand slide up the back of my leg, but not in a creepy way, not like a ew, um, but kind of like a soft touch. And I kind of got a feeling like it might have been my older sister, because she had already passed by then. But I definitely knew it was something just touching me. So those are the ones that stand out the most to me for my like paranormal creepy stories.
That's intense. The energy of ETs for me has always been really good.
Hmm.
In my situations where I'm with Treb and spending time with him, he's shown me some things that I felt disturbing energy from.
Hmm.
Like the race of beings he was showing me were very malevolent, or the place he took me to had gone through severe trauma, or things like that. But
Hmm.
every UFO I've ever seen came with excitement, joy, love,
Hmm.
so having that experience, and then the hand on the leg, I have had some things like that happen too that were really, pushes, or like jolts, or just like, the one time was the worst. Wasn't the time with the Ouija board that I was talking about, but was another one. And again, I was harassing the beings on the other side, and it felt like energy was flying into my arms towards my chest. And then I let go of the board, and I didn't play with it again for multiple years after that. But these types of things are really intense because, especially when I was that age, I didn't know anything about anything. And that experience for me was just like, whoa, there's something more than what's here, and I don't know, and it scares the hell out of me. you
Hmm.
know um so that missing time period that you had, that you weren't having negative or bad feelings about that, so that was
Mm-mm.
something that probably was amazing, even though it's a bit confusing with the whole where did I go for that time that I can't remember type thing.
Yeah, I'm
um
very curious about it.
yeah, no,
Like,
I don't
yeah,
blame you.
like even the movie so now I'm not so scared about it, but when I first saw the movie Fire in the Sky, I could not finish sitting in the theater with my mom. I ran out and I was scared. And I don't know why, because now I wouldn't feel that, but I know you said that sometimes there's like, I guess, listening to Bashar Darrell, do his thing, obviously that's pretty much the great or their beings doing what we do to animals when we tag, we check on them, like it's pretty similar. Now it's not so scary. Back then the movie was scary. But I mean, I would think excitement still. I don't think I'd be, I'm always like, if you're going to pop in, just pop in with a joke, like preferably a Seth Rogen voice and be like, don't be scared, but I'm an alien right behind you, But if it's okay, I'd like to share one last thing, and
Oh
this
yeah,
is
as many things as you'd like, please.
so dreams are like a big thing for me. When I was married, and this is tied into Jason and what Spirit was saying with, synchronicities, and meeting your loved one. So before Jason and I met, years before, I was still married to my ex-husband. Our marriage wasn't the best. We just were two wrong people for each other. And so I was always kind of just like, "Bleh," but I would never cheat. I was never that type of person. But I would have a dream where there was this guy and this person, and generally they were always male, or at least that's the feeling I got, with these eyes. And the eye color was similar to kind of like that grayish sea glass kind of color. And they were always the same shape. However, when the dreams would change, I had it about 5 times that I can recollect. The the person would change on the outside, but the eyes always remained the same. And then one of the things, one of the dreams that remains like super fresh in my mind was I'm in like a desert, like Wild West somewhere, and I'm still searching to see if this place actually exists, to see if maybe it's like a past life. And me and this guy, who is not my current husband at the time, obviously I can't control my dreams at this point, but so we're sitting in this car, and you guys are gonna laugh. It sounds weird. It's like a 1920s, maybe 40s vehicle sitting on cinder blocks in the back of this old Wild West cabin on like the plains, or like in like a canyony plain kind of area. And in the front seat is Jesus. And that, I don't know why. Please don't ask me why, but I don't understand it, you know, but the feeling of love in that dream seems to be what people express and explain when they come back from near death experiences. That's what it feels like, or when you guys say you feel the love, you know, from the beings um, in the other dimensions. And it's just like, it was just all consuming. And I was just so happy, you know, like this was, and in the dream, they're the love of my life. Like they are my soulmate. They're my twin flame. So I had it a couple times, but every time I woke up, that feeling of love was so amazing that I would literally cry when I first woke up. And I would sit there and I'm like, what am I crying for? I'm married. I was like, that's silly. And then I'd go on with my day. So fast forward, I get divorced from my ex-husband, and I divorce. And I'm like heartbroken, but I'm like, you know what? You know, I'm going to start over again. I've got hope. I'll find someone. You know, we just weren't right for each other, and I don't want to be right with somebody who doesn't love me, blah, blah, blah. So I'll just concentrate on school, and I'll work, and, you know, and that's it. Literally within a week. Oh, and at the same time, I was like, you know what? I'm going to leave it up to God. At that point, I was still religious. Um, and I was like, I'm going to leave it up to God. I'm over this. I just want to concentrate on getting a future and making a way for myself. And when you're ready to put someone in my life, please make it blatant. And I'm like very like, I've always talked to God before I knew what I know now, kind of like a friend. I was never very like, oh man, you know, very official. I was like, what's up, buddy? You know, like very real. And I was like, but I need you to blatantly like make it a sign, like Vegas lights or something, because you know I'm oblivious to this stuff, and obviously I can't pick them. And so go forward a week, and my husband now, Jason, walks into my life, and his smile, we get along immediately. We cannot stop talking to each other. Our first date was a coffee date. We talked for hours. We closed down the coffee shop, and we had the same things in common. We both had a lot of um, curiosity with esoteric stuff, and you know, the lost books of Enoch. Like we were both still semi, you know, religious then. So fast forward a little bit more, and I'm sitting there looking at him right before we get married, and I'm like, oh my God, his eyes are the eyes I had seen in every single dream. Same shape, same color. And I don't know why I didn't notice it before, but it just hit me. And what was even weirder is Jason was in the Navy prior to meeting me. And every time I got stationed somewhere with the Coast Guard with my ex-husband, Jason and I were either in the city for the same time for a little bit before he got transferred out, or we'd be two passing ships. So when he was getting transferred out of Hawaii and I was flying over to San Diego for the first time, I guarantee you we were probably in this exact same airport in San Diego and passing each other, and we just never realized. So
Oh my
that's
lord, that's amazing.
yes. And then Jason ends up having his QHHT. His went well because he could quiet his brain down. Mine went well, but Jason got more information from his higher self. And his higher self told him that we're basically twin flames and that we are together in every single lifetime. So, regardless of whether or not the relationship works out, we're always together.
That is
So
absolutely incredible.
yeah, yeah. I mean, like if I went into dreams, I could tell you some stories of dreams. There's a dream with Kalina in it. I've had like this weird cube thing in one of my dreams, which again, not really board shit, but it's like a sentient, like it's knowledgeable. I've had a dream where like I've had a miscarriage, but the I can see the fetus and and nothing too gross, but you could see this fetus, but it's like the fetus is very aware, and I could tell that it's aware, and I'm like it's hard. It's kind of like in Harry Potter when Voldemort basically in the last one and he's dying and he's all like shriveled up underneath the bench, and it's moved like it's kind of like that. No malice, nothing, no weird feeling. But I was like, oh, this thing is pretty aware. Like my dreams. I want to one day talk to somebody who interprets them because I have so many dreams that I am curious about.
That's fascinating. Yeah, a lot of the dream energies are heavily coded and heavily layered with different energies. But that's absolutely crazy. Yeah. Um, Tell me too, Fire in the Sky. I know I've seen it, but I
hmm
can't remember which of the multiple contact UFO movies it was from the late 80s, early 90s. Can you give me a
It's
little
it's
synopsis?
not Whitley Strieber. It's the other guy, but I forget his name. Strieber or Stryber was the one who did was it Communion, if I'm correct. But basically they're logging, and I want to say they're in the Midwest somewhere. Don't quote me. It could be California, but he and his buddies are out logging, and this is what they do. They clear out fire and brush, and to prevent forest fires and all that stuff. And they push it a little further on one day because their contract is getting ready to close. And he sits there and he's like, they're all done for the day, and they see a light at night through the trees, a really bright light. So the truck full of friends, they're driving out. The guy who is affected by it just runs out of the vehicle, runs into this field, and says he basically, you find out sees a UFO. Um, and at one point, you kind of see him like try to get closer, in the movie, but it slams him back, and you think that it's them, being like, "Oh, humans, we're gonna kill you." Um, but he gets slammed back, and then eventually he gets yanked up into the UFO. The way they show it, and if I've got to find his name, if somebody can Google it really quickly, they'll tell you his name. Um, he gets taken aboard, and is Hollywood kind of over dramatizes like they do how he gets taken in. Like he's in this like weird pod thing that looks like decrepit, like almost like a crypt, and then like he's in this gelatinous like kind of like there's a like a open not an opening, but it's like a cover, and he pushes through it, and it's almost like you're ripping through like a gross balloon or something, but he ends up popping out the other side. He's naked. He accidentally puts his hand in like a dead body that was in the little crevice, the other little pod crevice next to him, which was the part that stuck in my mind because I was like, "Ugh." It ruined hamburger meat for me for a while.
Oh, I
And
bet.
yeah, it was gross. And then he is floating, and he gets to a point where he somehow gets to them, and they start operating on him. And one of the and in the movie they again they make it look scary, but they get to a point where they show a needle getting ready to go into his eye. And that's the part that really did it for me. I couldn't stay longer, but I ended up watching it again later. And if you watch his interviews, it took him a long time to come to the realization that they weren't hurting him. They were helping him because I guess he said because I guess whatever technology they use kind of gave him that the burn that you get from radiation. And so he
Oh,
says he's pretty sure that it was like they were trying to help heal him. But he was missing, I want to say for a week or weeks. So nobody knew where he was. They thought his friends murdered him. And it turns out, he shows up suddenly, and then the whole town is like in an uproar. There was a guy who supposedly worked for the CIA or something who comes to town to disprove them, and he can't. Everything the friends told him, everything's always held up. All these years later, their story still holds up. Um, it is credited as one of the or the only UFO encounter with like I guess with more evidence. Travis Walton. There you go. Fire in the Sky, Travis Walton.
yeah.
Um, And if you just look up his documentary, it's phenomenal. He goes through everything. He tells you about what it was like and when he came to the realization that, you know, this was not what I thought it was. Which reminds me a lot of what I heard when I was listening to the Dolores books. You know, you have a lot of people when she puts them under and they're freaking out, which is, you know, of course, you know, you're being taken by something you've never seen in your life. But then she has their higher self kind of watch it nonchalantly, like, you know, from a different point of view without feeling. And then they realize, oh, it's not what I thought it was at all. You know, they're just kind of doing this or they're helping me out and, you know, and they're just checking on us. And so he eventually gets a little bit of closure with it. But the movie is was very scary. But now I can watch it no problem. But not aliens.
Yeah, no. As soon as you said it was a movie about the guys who were out logging and one of them got abducted, I knew exactly
Yeah.
what you meant. And
Yeah.
that's crazy too. There is a movie about abductees and they see owls in their dreams and visions.
Yes.
Do you remember what that's called?
No, but what's funny is in one of the Dolores, so I love listening to books on Audible. I retain
Right.
the information a lot better and I can clean and do stuff while I'm doing it. But in Dolores Cannon, one of her books, I think it's the second book, one of one of the people that she brings back, you know, through a QHHT sees an owl. And she notes that there's a lot of people that she has that have had encounters, see owls. Oh, the one you're thinking about is the one in Alaska where it's the doctor who interviews everybody and they supposedly abduct her son.
Yes.
Yes.
That's the movie. The reason
Yes.
I bring that up
Mhm.
is that movie was created
Mhm.
about an actual real thing that happened,
Mhm.
but it wasn't in Alaska. It was in North Carolina.
Are you serious?
And that movie, you know, they did the fear tactics to it, right?
Mhm.
And they did, oh, the kid came up missing and all this stuff. But it was actually just about a guy who studied in North Carolina. That guy was Kalina's dad, who
No
counseled
way.
people and did regressions on them and found out that they were having ET contacts. Anyway, after his dad told the story to someone and shared it with them in
Mhm.
hopes to do a movie, they're like, yeah, we can do a movie. Well, they ended up changing their mind, and then they went the other way with it because, you know, fear sells. So
Yep.
yeah, that was actually a thing that happened, and I didn't realize that until after I met Kalina, and then she's telling me, you know, her dad told me a lot of story too, so it was kind of crazy.
I love that though because Jason and I go back and watch it again. I mean, and we both awoke together. So this was very important. And the weird thing is I was religious in my old marriage, not crazy religious. I'm like you know, like I was like everybody was like, "Oh, I'm Christian." But I'm like, I wouldn't call myself Christian. I'd say you know, because I'm not Christ-like. I'm like, you guys expect perfection, and I'm just me. But Jason and I got into it little by little, and watching YouTube one day, Dolores, I think, is one of the first people. Like, well, the books of Enoch, you know, the stuff. Jason knew a whole lot more than I did, but I was always open to it. And then just together, we will, you know, together, and it was awesome. But when we watched it again, knowing what we know now, and I want to watch it again because I've learned even more. When you actually listen to the tapes, everybody's like, "Oh, it's demonic," but if you listen to what they say and you think of it differently, it's actually not that bad. You know what I mean? Like what they say, you know. And of course, Hollywood's going to be like demons, you know, and they even still try to pass that off now. I don't know why everybody seems to think, you know, there's UFOs, you know, they're there and they all think they're demons. And I'm like, don't you guys say demons like destroy stuff? Like I don't think I've ever heard of a nice demon, you know? Like
Right, or one that's willing to give great information or heal someone or the multitudes of other physical contact experience. Yeah,
yeah.
absolutely. Oh,
Yeah.
thank you for calling in, Nadia.
Yes.
We've got a couple other callers who
Yes.
are
You
lined
guys too.
up. So thank you so much for being here and sharing. And please send
Thank you.
our love with both you and your husband, and thank you for sharing those amazing stories. That's really great. Oh,
Oh, go ahead.
sorry, I muted you instead of myself. Sorry.
Yeah, that's okay. I just want to say good night. Hi, Kalina. Hi, everybody. I miss you guys, and everybody have a great night.
We miss you too, and love you, and thanks for coming by, and we'll talk soon. Thanks
All
again.
right. Bye.
Bye. All right, Omni, you are next, my friend. Omni, as all of you know, is a regular on the show, but in the chat room and stuff, but also has been featured on an episode in the Enlightenment Evolution Hour. So, hi, Omni. How are you, brother?
Good.
Well, I'm glad to hear from you. Share with us some insights, some stories, whatever it is that you're here to share.
The only story is that there was this pony that I touched once, and I put my hand into its mouth because I was like, what is a pony's mouth like? And then I felt it, and I was like, it's similar to a human mouth, but it's differently shaped because it's an animal's mouth. And that was on Halloween one time. Never saw the pony again.
Where was this? Was this just some random pony that you bumped into while you were out getting camp? How did you come to meet this pony?
It was like outside, and they're like coming towards my house because like trick or treating.
Damn! So just this random pony comes
With
out
its
of
owner,
nowhere.
yes.
Holy moly, that's
But
amazing!
they only existed once in my timeline. They've been diverted to a different version of Earth since then.
And this was. Do you know anything more about the origins of this thing? Was it something in the timeline where your neighbors just happened to have one, or was it just one where
It was from a
ponies were
completely
hanging
different
out?
street.
That's
I don't
crazy.
remember what street it was from.
That's crazy. Well, that's amazing. Do you have any other stories or insights or anything that you can share with us that's otherworldly? That's pretty big one.
Athena's coming through. In relation to the gods and demons in the area of the experience of extraterrestrials, demons are just the manifestation of your darkest shadows, and they are the manifestation of the information that you do not like. The only reason why they get stronger is because they like to make you in fear. They are the manifestation of the part of yourself that wants to keep you stuck. They are the expression of the societal programming of control, and they are aligned with the darker entities in the astral and the fourth density, as you call it. And they are not harmful if you are a loving entity that goes against their frequency. You cannot experience what you are not a frequency match to.
Well, thank you for that insight, Athena. Then my question is, are most contacts with demons in human terms contacts with these manifestations of the shadow, or are they actual contacts with more negative oriented fourth density, fifth density beings
Both.
that humans? Which
It's
is
both.
which is most prevalent out of those?
It's a mixed bag. It just depends upon the person and depends upon what they've attracted into their field.
I see. I always assumed that most people were just dealing with more negative entities, but it makes sense with people with
Yes.
such heavy belief systems of fear, demons, and things like that, that they would manifest that internally.
Right.
Sure.
Because
But
reality is a Turing machine.
yeah, absolutely. Well, that makes sense. Thank you for that insight. Is there any more insight you can give us on this time of year and that window between the other world, spirit world, kind of lowering its threshold with us?
You can use the lowering of the veil between the worlds to connect with your guides, to put meditation efforts out for peace for the places in the world that need peace, and you can put out the information that is necessary for contact if you wish, or you can try to understand how to open up yourself to your guides and how to open up to other people as well.
Perfect. Thank you for sharing that. And the last question I'll ask you is going to be, when people are going through their personal experiences, whether they are scary, exciting, otherworldly, these types of things, are there any clues or insight you can give us to help us stay calmed, grounded, and use that experience to better our life?
Remember that the being you are talking to is just your shadow manifested through something attracted to you that is a match to a theme you need to resolve. If you view it this way, you can become the vibrational match to the thing it wants you to overcome. Like, for example, if you fear spiders, you'll have a spider demon. If you fear giant owls, you have an owl demon. If you fear having like snakes, you'll have a snake demon trying to constrict you. If you want to understand how to overcome this, what you do is you try to act like there is no fear. There is only love. If you love the demon, if you put love towards the demon, towards the thing that scares you, the shadow will seek the light. And because of spiritual magnetism, everything that sees the light will be attracted towards the oneness of all things. That is the ultimate goal of existence.
And what about the positive things? Well, let's say someone has an otherworldly experience that brings them happiness and joy. How can they keep themselves grounded to get the experience maybe to last a little longer? And how can they integrate what they're feeling or learned in that spirit?
You can tell the crystalline grid of our earth to put the energy into your own body structure whenever you need to have the feeling of joy, of love. Connect to Mother Gaia. And even though certain myths of our culture, the Greeks have put in mean entity nature into Gaia, and the blasphemy of the Percy Jackson series, which as Athena, I'm kind of more neutral on, leaning towards. I don't quite like it, but it's what it is. You can connect to Mother Gaia. You can connect to your higher self and Gaia with the opening of your chakras, and you can tell Gaia to take away the things you don't need energetically so you can feel your joy, your oneness.
Thank you so much for that. And I appreciate you coming in to chat with us.
It is a great pleasure.
Thank you. And Omni, do you have anything to add to before we go to our next caller?
I just explained to a bunch of entities what Halloween was because they were asking me telepathically, what the heck is Halloween in your culture? And so I just explained it to them.
I bet that's a weird kind of what do you call it? Like a ritual, a weird ritual to celebrate that.
It is very weird. Even us of the Earth reptilians think it is a bit unnecessary in some ways.
Well, I appreciate that perspective too, and thank you, Omni, for bringing in the beings who are connecting with you too. We really appreciate it, and have a good
Yes.
Halloween, brother.
You as well.
All
We bid
right.
you adieu in this moment.
All right, goodbye. All right, we're gonna go to Jay Love, who's with us from the Matrix Minds. Hello, how are you? Sorry, that's Joy Love, not Jay Love. Joy Love, and you're on mute still, Joy. All right, if you're in the chat, Joy, you can. I don't want to unmute you if you're not ready to come on. If you're away from the microphone or away from here, I definitely don't want to put you on the spot. But you can either go to the private chat or the comment section and let me know you're there. Okay, I see your camera turned on. Do you want me just to unmute your mic for you? If so, you can put a thumbs up, and I'll see that, and then I can unmute your microphone for you. I'm still not seeing that. Let me see. I'm gonna wait a second for you to type in, or device not connected. All right. I'll wait for a second here for Joy Love to come back with us. Yeah, the audio settings on this from a cell phone are hard to use. It's not a very cell phone friendly thing, even though you can use it. It's definitely a little harder to use. All right, I'm going to give Joy just another minute or so. First of all, the insights from everything from all the callers is great, and Omni brought forward a couple of beings, a channel which were amazing. I am going to end up going back to the Adam Twister close out if we can't get Joy back on in a second, but I do want to wait because I know she was very excited to share something here with us. If you want, Joy, I don't know if you can hear me or not. I might just kick you from the studio and you could rejoin, which will be a lot easier if you can't get your device working. I'm going to give you another second. All right, I'm going to kick you from the studio. Not to, kick you, but just to get you able to come back in with an easier path. So I'm going to type that in the chat too. There. Oh, Mama Minga's in the house. I'm going to put her in real quick. Mama Minga, hello. How are you?
Hello. I'm trying to get you off the echo. Give me 1 second.
Sure.
That was hella delayed. I'm like, hold up. I'm listening to the show, but he's talking to me.
Yep, that's definitely, there's a good, sometimes we've had up to 1.5 or 2 minute delays. It's like, holy crap, that's horrible. Well, I'm glad you're here. I'm glad you're with us. And what types of stories, experiences, insights, otherworldly things have you had that you wanted to share, or just whatever you feel like sharing?
Okay, sorry, my phone was going in and out. I realized that when I hit the power side button thing, that it takes me out of the internet, and of course, it hangs me up. So,
Oh no.
okay, yeah, I just thought I'd share one of my stories from back in the day. When I lived in Michigan, at a point of time, I had to travel to Ohio to get a car, if that makes any sense. At the time, I had just went through a divorce and foreclosure and stuff like that. Not foreclosure, but bankruptcy. And this car company was the only place that was willing to help me get into a car. But the thing was, I had to drive to them. So I had a friend that was willing to drive with me so I can, we took the bus there and he helped me drive back from Ohio. And before we left, we tore the house up looking for my keys to leave so I can lock up and stuff. But I could not find the keys. And mind you, usually at the time I come home and I would put my keys like directly on my dining room table. You know how you have that one spot you just throw your jacket or your shoes or whatever.
Yeah, the key place too, where,
Exactly.
yeah.
So that was my go-to spots. But anyways, we end up tearing the whole house up. So I was like, okay, my mom's gonna come pick me up and take us to the bus station. I'm like, I'm just not gonna be able to lock up. I have to go get this car. So I didn't lock the house up. So we go to Ohio, pick up the car, come back home. It's late at night. I drop my friend off at home in my new car and I, get home. Open the door. And the first thing I see is my keys on the dining room table.
What?
Yes.
And nobody had been to the house then?
Nobody had been to the house, to my knowledge, at least. And if they did, what did they do? Look for the keys for me and put them on the table for me? Like,
Right. That's not gonna happen unless you were calling to everyone saying, "Hey, find my keys while I'm gone."
exactly. So, and the first thing I did was call my friend Ryan, because here's the funny part. Me and him, we both had paranormal activity that we were already dealing with on our own, as people. But when we met each other, it like heightened on both of our ends. So when I called and told him this, it was just like me calling, telling him another story. So I'm like, hey, Ryan, guess where my keys are? And he's like, where? I was like, on the dining room table. He was like, oh, that makes sense.
That's
He
crazy. And
just,
Michigan is a hot spot for this type of activity too. That water,
I
Treb and
really
Aridif
believe it.
explained. Yeah, it's like a amplification energy of the
Yeah.
water.
Yeah, I believe it because being in Florida almost 13 years, I think, the contrast in paranormal activity I experience here versus Michigan is like night and day. It's so much more less now than when I was in Michigan. Michigan, it was nonstop. So it's crazy.
Yeah, that is crazy, and that's an amazing story. And do you have any other stories you could think of that you experienced, or just some insights you've had since then about your experiences?
Yeah, I have a few other ghost stories. I know in general I had a few stories from being at work. I remember when I worked for Gap, one night I was doing an overnight shift where we were putting the baby department where the kids department was and vice versa. And we took a break, and I remember coming back from the break and it just looked like somebody took all of my baby, or not all of my baby clothes, but like all the clothes that I was working on my side, they got tossed over onto the other side. And I asked my employees, I'm like, yo, what's up? Which one of y'all did this? And they're like, what you talking about? We were all together on lunch. Like, what are you talking about? So I never really had an explanation for that. And at this same store, one time I had another, night shift, but it wasn't overnight. It was just us closing for the night. I had to do the denim wall, right? Dude. And I think I did the denim wall that night, and I had to come back in the next morning. This is why I remember it good, because I remember I walked in and all I saw were jeans like snatched out the wall. And I was like, what the happened? Like I'm looking at my boss like, I promise you I stood here and folded this wall.
Holy moly!
Yeah, so I've had entities or ghosts or spirit, whatever you want to call it, like bother me at my job. I've had one at Foot Locker. I'm vacuuming, and the vacuum got unplugged. So I turn around and I look and I saw this white like light or streak or whatever you want to call it, like shoot to the back room. And I'm thinking it's one of the guys messing with me at the time. So I'm like, you guys play too much. And everybody's like minding their business, like, what's going on? I'm like, which one of y'all unplugged the vacuum cleaner? And they're like, we've been over here the whole time.
Oh my lord!
And so by this time, I've had so many of these experiences that when people don't fess up, I just be like, oh, it's another ghost messing with me. So I'm
Yeah,
like, we all wear black and white, and all I saw was a white light. So I'm like, that had to been a spirit messing with me again, because that was just too much white in comparison to our uniforms.
yeah. It's actually something interesting. Treb told me a long time ago. Because that was my big thing, was the paranormal, afterlife. That's why I came into this whole experience, because that was my interest in connecting to humans who had passed, or just spirits of beings.
Right.
So
Yeah.
I told him, I asked him, I said, why do we see these entities manifest the way that they do? He said that the entities that are completely black or void of light, like the shadow people,
Yeah.
that these beings are trying to manifest more into the physical world to interact. So they're using light energy. And that's why
Oh.
that place is black. It's void of light. And then why
Oh.
do entities feel cold? To the, like, when people
Right.
talk about that cold touch, that's because they're using heat energy. And then why are there beings who look like they're white, or translucent, or
Yeah. Yeah.
semi-physical, and they're using the Christ, what is that called? The basically the UV light frequency, and they're
Oh,
using
wow.
that and gathering it up to manifest. So that's
Yeah, so
probably
like
what you
they all
saw.
have different ways of manifesting and like harnessing energy and using it. Like I've seen, me, I've told you, Rob, all the crazy scary videos I watch on YouTube all day. And I've seen some entities like move, like there's like 20 of those metal, those metal old school desks from back in the day with the wood top.
Yep.
Move like 20 of them suckers with no problem, like
Yes.
entities that strong. It's crazy to think that, we just have these type of energies and these forces around us all the time, you know?
It is crazy, and that's the thing too. I've seen some of the videos you've sent me. Are you watch the good ones? You watch the ones that have all these different types of things. And I remember one was a guy who was out ghost hunting, and then all of a sudden this perfectly shaped human face, it was distorted, popped around the edge of the building, and it scared the shit out
Oh,
of the guy. And then the guy runs to the corner to look around, and there's no one. And there's only one way that person could have went, and that's down that alleyway. and there
Right.
was no one. And I
Wow.
was like, whoa, that was the best capture I'd ever seen. So that was from the same creators of the videos that you sent me.
Oh, wow. Yeah, man. If anybody's listening, if you like to watch scary, spooky, like, paranormal videos that people catch on their ring cams, or like, videos that people just share that they captured, always assume at least 10% of it is fake. I'll just put that out there right there. But man, this stuff, like, try Nukes. It's called Nukes Top 5. And
Yep.
there's another one called Slapped Ham. Slapped Ham talk too much though. Like, he'll linger on a video and you be like, go to the next video. But I
It's
love the
funny,
way
before
Nuke
you said
narrates.
that, as soon
Yeah.
as before you said that, Adam Twister pops it on. So I'm putting that and the slapped ham up on the screen.
Oh, yeah, man. I love those shows. I'd be so disappointed when Nuke take forever. Like lately he's been taking forever to download or, upload stuff. But in general, just watching those videos, I noticed how the spirit world is getting stronger and stronger and more clear. Like, you can hear their voices better when they do these investigations. It's almost like they don't even need the equipment anymore.
Oh
It's
wow.
Yeah, it's crazy. Like, I feel like there's gonna be a point in time where we're gonna be like, it's gonna be hard to tell the spirit world from us. We're gonna be talking to ghosts and not even freaking realizing it.
I agree. I think a lot of the AI takes on a third density characteristic by connecting with those beings who have
Oh,
access to the electromagnetic
right.
and tech energy. Yeah, and Adam Twister just says, "Wish Nuke a good recovery. He had an emergency surgery not long ago." So I don't know if he knew that or not, but
Oh, really? I'm so glad he told me that. Tell him I feel so bad because I'll be over here talking mad shit.
you can't blame him,
I'm like, what is he doing over there? I got scary stuff to watch. Like, I need to feel a little fear, Nuke. What's going on? Like,
Well,
all
that's
right,
why he
so
hasn't been uploading.
right now I feel bad. I gotta pray for him tonight now.
Well, I'm glad to hear the stories, and thank you for giving these people the resource too, so that they can check out those videos. Because I know, I think you're right. I think in some cases, maybe even up to 20, 30%, 40. It depends on what channel you're watching. I've seen some channels that 90% of the stuff they put up is just blatantly, horrifically fake. But that one that
Right.
you sent me, I think, which was the Nuke one, was great. I hate to do it, Mama Minga, but we've only got a few minutes left, and Adam Twister's been waiting forever to get in, so I want to get him in to close up
No
the show
problem at
tonight.
all.
But we send our love with you. Kalina says hello too, and I
Hi,
always say
Lena.
hello, and we send love to your whole family.
Thank you. Same to you guys. Love you. Bye,
We
everybody. Have a
love you
good
too.
Halloween.
Thank you. You too. And
Bye
thanks for
bye.
coming on. All right, Adam Twister, you are here. You have been waiting patiently. We don't have a ton of time. I know we'll probably go over a few minutes or whatnot, but please share what it is that you've been waiting to share, because we can't wait to hear it, brother.
As we all celebrate Halloween, as our friends across the border also celebrate Cinco de Mayo, the Day of the Dead.
No, that's May 5th, is Cinco de Mayo.
Oh, which one is it then? I don't remember. Day of
the Dead is
The Day of the Dead, yeah.
I've been thinking all these years that they were the same thing. I would have gotten in so much trouble for that with my brothers that I go hang out with every once in a while. But anyway, I think about a lot. And firstly, thank you very much, everybody, for sharing. And I loved hearing your stories, Mama Minga, as well. And really all of you. It's a lot to think about because, I've had the chance to look at all of this stuff, all the consciousness-related stuff, and which many of you guys touched base with in one way or another. This whole thing, I've been wondering, if I were to pass away tomorrow, what would I have accomplished in this life? And I've had the chance to evaluate all the work that I've done with consciousness. Does it really mean anything? And my biggest fear was no, it doesn't. And as I kept exploring with it, because I still had my heart in it, despite all that, I continued to explore it. And it still means something to me. It always means something to me, if for no other reason than the fact that it's love itself, that I've enjoyed the journey. And now I bring up the Day of the Dead because I want to celebrate these people for everything that they did here, for the parts of our journey that they were a part of, and the parts of their journey that I got to be a part of. And knowing that I'm having my own journey right now, I've come to appreciate what a wonderful thing this journey is, and getting to hear everybody else's journeys as well. Perhaps if there is no other meaning of life, just the simple journey itself is a wonderful thing. So even with a meaningless life, I think it's a wonderful thing all the same.
Well, I'm going to say two things to what you said, and I can hear myself in the background. There you go. Thank you, brother. First thing, if you die tomorrow, the legacy that you leave behind is going to be more than just what you shared about consciousness. The experience that everyone here has had at the show, all the regular people who are here to chat, all the people who have just popped in once or twice, or people 5 years down the road when they hear about the show and they're like, oh my God, I'm going to go listen to all the archives and read through all of the old things. That itself is going to be an energy itself. All the stuff that you upload on your YouTube channel, all of these exchanges that you've had are meaningful. And obviously, a lot of us would be sad that we don't get to experience you the way we're doing here, even though there's a level of celebration for you and your consciousness that would be there. But that, how death is with people and grieving and all of that, it would be harder to figure that out until after the grief period is moved into a bit of a level. So by no means would anything that you've done in any way, shape, or form, whether it's through communication, connection, friendship, or through the actual meat and potatoes of the work you're doing, would be not enough. So that's the first thing. And secondly, you are right. The journey itself is what's most important. I can't help it. I was born into that generation and born with a dad from the silent generation. And these types of things were instilled in me young. What are you going to leave behind? Because you're not permanent. What you leave behind is what is. And 99% of every human who dies will be forgotten about within the first generation. As soon as their kids and their kids' die, they're gone. Their energy's still there, because we know that. All of us know that. The legacy they left with their children and children's children, it will still be a part of that energy. All of the genetic afterwards are going to be related to that person. So there's that part. But the energy of the way that you shift lives really is the only thing permanent all of us can leave. And I don't know, when I die, will my channeling still be around in 50 years, 100 years, 200 years? I don't know. I would hope that it's meaningful enough to people where it would continue even after I die. But we see things like Bob Hickman. He just recently passed, and a lot of the things that he did are still being watched and viewed, but not the way that I thought it would be. So there's that energy, the legacy concept, and that is a meaningful thing to me because of how I grew up and how I was conditioned. But in all honesty, as long as there are people who loved me, who appreciate me being in their life at some capacity, I feel like my life was perfect. And I already know if I were to die tonight in my sleep, tomorrow, there would be a ton of people who said, man, that guy meant something to me. And even if not in deep friendship, I know there would be a couple dozen people in family and close friends who would really be affected and really have a rough time dealing with it. But, thousands of people, tens of thousands of people, maybe even hundreds of thousands of people would say, I'm glad that dude was alive. I'm glad he added something here on Earth that was meaningful. So to me, that's great. And that's perfect. And you've done that too, brother. You've created a space where everyone, whoever bumps into anything that you've touched, anything you put your energy, would say, God damn, that guy, I'm glad he was here for us. And your desire, your specific expression of how you share, dealing with working towards type 1, dealing with commutative and connected consciousness and oneness, all of that stuff to me is really the best of where it's at, because that's the impression we want to give to the next generations, and having them grow up and thinking about oneness in their actions and co-creation and getting themselves to be unlimited. Because eventually, if everyone's on that page, then the world syncs up to be as perfect as it can be. And that's what I would hope for, if Lily ever has her own children and her children and their children, and on and on and on. That's really what I want for everyone, a few generations down. So thank you, brother, for adding to what you've done, and thank you for being a part of everything with us here.
Yes, you're very welcome, and I know there's not much time, so I'm going to put the two things I wanted to do together, do them at the same time.
Nice.
So, as you are aware, I see life very far beyond just this lifetime. I see soul essence, I see God, the spark of life in all things, the one that is all. And in that way, we live with transience. And I could move on and leave everything here behind and move on to a thing that has nothing to do with even this reality, or I can stick with it. In all the ways that really matter, all things exist. And so all experience is there to be had. And the whole joy of it is, God's love of the self in experiencing all things as each and every single one of us, and then seeing everybody else through the eyes of everyone there is to see through the eyes of, and all the other senses and ways of perceiving as well. So it really is a wonderful thing. So I think about stuff like legacy and things like that, and it really comes down to existence itself and love itself. And so it's a special thing. It really is. And I want you all to know that you guys, in that oneness, and since all things are one and all things exist, since linear time is not a fundamental thing, you guys are always a part of me, and you always will be. And I will always be a part of you, no matter where I am or what I'm doing per se, since not all of that is strictly defined. All you've got to do is find in your heart not just me, but everyone else imaginable. Everyone else that you've ever thought about, that you've ever imagined, that have ever been a part of your life in one way or another. They're always a part of you. You are loved.
Brother, I just thought about this, and it came as a smashing realization, and I want you to hear my realization. As you're sharing, the chimes are toning. You've always looked up to this person, Mr. Rogers, right? Mr. Rogers, still to this day, the king of all my childhood heroes, because he's the only one that stood the test. And I've said this 100 times, 100 different ways. All the other people I grew up with that I loved ended up being creeps, weirdos, bigots, or rapists, or molester, whatever the case was. Mr. Rogers was great, and you hold him in high regard because he did the job that you're doing here. So I just thought about it. From this moment forward, I'm going to think of you as the Mr. Rogers of consciousness, and I can't help it. That will permanently be tied to my brain as long as I think about it. You got the music, you got the love, you got the heart. You are the Mr. Rogers of consciousness.
Well, I'm honored, and that means a lot considering how close Mr. Rogers is to me.
Well, he was your hero for a reason. He was a great dude, and he was an amazing person. The way he worked with kids and actually cared about the development of children, that's a whole new life for me. since we've had Lily. You know, Jeremy I had very young, very wild. I was a very feral being when Jeremy came into this earth, and now I'm a bit more refined and a bit more understanding. So really, like, the childhood of any kid being raised with tons of love and nurturing has just become much more important, which means what Mr. Rogers did for the Earth Collective, what you're doing, anyone who's like that, and they focus that energy on children and helping children know how much their value is, and know that it's okay not to be okay all the time, and know that, you know, you get upset, you're not a bad person. Things, the fundamentals that so many of us as parents mess up a lot. It's always been super important. But thank you, brother, for coming tonight. We've already gone 10 minutes over, so I'm going to shut her down. Thank you for coming, brother. We love you so much, and we appreciate what you add and value of our co-creations.
Cheers, everybody. We love you all very much as well. And since it's time to close up shop for the night, I better be out of here and not drag out the goodbyes. So adieu, everybody.
Well, I appreciate you, brother, and everyone here appreciates you too. And I appreciate all of you guys for coming every night that you're here on the Wednesday at 10 o'clock Eastern, 7 Pacific. It makes my heart smile. It makes me happy to see you guys just chatting. 99% of the time I see you guys carrying on a whole separate chat than the show. Well, not 99, maybe 90%, and the other 10% is related. But I love that because that means you guys are connecting, and that's what I love. And a place where us people who see the world in a different way are able to be safe to share and connect and communicate. And I really love that this show has been an opportunity for all of you guys who come in live every week. And the Matrix Minds, all the Brainiacs, I love you guys too for being a part of that. Next Wednesday we're going to have I believe I said Sandrine. Yeah, Sandrine Savagnan is coming, and she will be here with us next week. And after that, we're going to have Georgia, Jean, and the week after that, Jamie Price. So the next 3 weeks, we've got some really, really amazing guests. And if you guys haven't checked out our past guests, if you're newer to the show, if you've only been around for a few weeks, a few months, we have all the shows back. Most of them are in the live tab. A few pre-recorded shows are in the videos. But if you type in the Enlightenment Evolution Hour on YouTube, you're going to find all of our most recent shows, and you'll probably find some of the very, very old shows. This isn't a new show, even though it's only been back for about 1.5 years now. It existed for a long time between 2014 and 2018-ish or 17-ish. And there's a lot of good stuff there. And eventually we're going to get the website up and get the archives up and get it all more easily accessible for people, because I am going to continue doing this show as long as I have excitement in my heart and mind to do it. And with all of you being a part of this co-creation, coming in live, sharing your hearts on the call-in shows, sharing your perspectives, it really means a lot to me. So anyway, guys, happy Halloween. I hope that all of your otherworldly experiences and the dream states and in life are so incredibly rewarding to you. And I hope you guys feel that love from my heart for the appreciation of you guys being here. It really means the world to me. I love you guys. I will see you next Wednesday, 10 o'clock Eastern, with Sandrine. We'll have a great time. She's a lovely, lovely human being. I got to spend a lot of time with her, and I know you guys will enjoy your time with her. So we'll see you guys next Wednesday at the Enlightenment Evolution Hour, 10 o'clock Eastern, 7 Pacific, and we'll see you guys on the other side. Good night, everybody.